What a time to be alive. It was announced yesterday. This is Friday, the end of May. Summer is right around the corner, or maybe we're in summer. It depends on how you look at life. But Sydney Sweeney is selling 5,000 bars of soap that contain drops of her own bath water in collaboration with Dr. Squatch, saying, fans always joke about wanting my bathwater. I was like, this is such a cool way to give them what they want.
Wow. There's really just nothing better than when someone gets it, right? Sydney Sweeney gets it. She understands her fans. This is tongue in cheek, but it's also like, this is a bit kinky, Sydney. This is exactly what we wanted out of you, and you gave it to us. So now, like, what's next on our list that we want from Sydney Sweeney? Are we gonna get that as well? You know?
Well, someone made a joke on X where they had a Photoshop of Charmin being like, we have an idea. She went on to say, my hope is that it just gets guys to think about taking care of themselves and cleaning themselves with some healthy products. Yeah, they'll be cleaning one area, thinking about tongue in cheek.
Why does this bar soap have a hot dog grooves? She has a point. There's a lot of gross dudes out there. You live with a female, so you're infinitely more clean than most dudes. I lived with two female relatives for a very long time, so I think I have pretty good cleanliness, pretty good hygiene for a male. So the Mac and Goo program, we're well above the male standard for hygiene and cleanliness, and I take pride in that.
And I imagine that when you get your order of 100 bars of soap, you're going to be on a seafood diet. See soap and eat it.
I'll tell you, the combo of this working so well with the eating soap scene from Friendship is just like that was an A+ tweet.
I mean, you are going to put the soap in your mouth and just say, I've been a bad boy. I know my punishment.
I'm really excited to see what the secondary market is going to be for these bars of soap.
I was thinking the exact same thing. If she's only putting out 5,000 bars of these soaps, also, is her bathwater actually going to be in these soaps? I'd imagine not. But just
it better come with a fucking card that's like someone witnessed this bathwater being poured into the mixture. I need to see
that little sapling of water falling off her leg. I need to know what body part this fell off of. Like, I don't want it from her hair.
I mean,
you do.
I'll take it from any. Doesn't matter where it's.
I don't care where it is. If you just tell me that it's from somewhere, I'm in. I don't care.
One goo, three, yeah. Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And we are the Mac and Goo program. As you can see, the sunglasses are off, and I look okay.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations. How's
you.
That going for you?
Little bit of residual effect right now of some dry skin scabbage over the eye, but it's not as bad as it was, and I hate wearing sunglasses on the pod. I look like a douchebag, and you can see the ring light in my sunglasses, which is incredibly annoying. I would like to applaud anyone who sat through those videos and accepted me for me.
Will your wife kiss you again currently?
What year is it?
I just imagine she couldn't look you in your ugly eye for a week or so there. So no kissing, none.
It wasn't conjunctivitis.
Is Raffi hugging you again?
Raffi told me that it was disgusting.
Folks, today we are discussing Lilo and Stitch, the live action remake of the 2002 animated Disney movie. And I would say Goo and I's opinion of the original animated movie is that I would say it's generally underrated. Really good Disney movie. Maybe not top tier, but right below it.
it came just after my prime Disney watching years,
Yeah.
where as a teenager, you're going to poo-poo Disney movies and you're not going to give them enough credit for what they are.
Sure,
But then
sure,
you'll
sure,
get
sure.
back to them when you have kids and you look, that's pretty good. That's a good movie. I do think that it's a little inconsistent, maybe pacing wise, because they're trying to wrap things up pretty quickly, but it's a very good Disney movie.
Pretty unique compared to the movies that had come out the 10 years before it too. So I like that it's a little astray from the typical thing. And also, um, in general, I don't think either of us wanted or think that really any of these movies need live action remakes. But if you're gonna do it, don't do the 5 or 6 definitive, like top tier 40
Mhm.
doggers. Do these ones that were a little more underrated, didn't make maybe as much money as they should have, ones that deserve a second life. And I think this is a prime candidate for that.
Also, if you're Disney and you watch a movie, say like Detective Pikachu, you see that and you say, how do we get a piece of this action? We have
Right.
something that looks a lot like a Pikachu.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and we'll see merch wise. Like merch, this movie could have made $0 at the box office and it was still worth it.
Yeah, and to your point, when we started seeing teasers for this, I don't know, 8 months ago, a year ago, they just showed Stitch, and Stitch looked really good,
Yeah.
which is a selling point in and of itself.
That Super Bowl ad where Stitch just runs amok on the field, you hooked everyone right there.
Yep. Yep. And your 4-year-old son
Loved
loved this movie.
Loved it.
That's it. That's what
No,
we're
I
looking
will
for.
say that he loved the Stitch parts, and he did
Sure.
enjoy the end, but I could kind of tell he was losing a little bit of interest in the first act when they went away from Stitch to set up the family drama.
I think maybe a 6 or 7-year-old might be more interested in the little kid hijinks part of it too, but
Mhm.
this is what we're talking about. You know, if your 4-year-old to 10-year-old love this movie, that's what their goal is. And that's what all Disney movies should be geared towards, not the 12, 13, 14-year-olds that they seemingly have gotten into with a lot of like the Pixar related shit too. Goo, on opening weekend, Lilo and Stitch made $146 million, which was $1 million more than it made in its entire domestic run in 2002. So that's a huge plus. It is up to $207 million domestic heading into this weekend, its second weekend, and $420 million worldwide, and all that off a $100 million budget. So this is already making money for it. Even if you double up that to 200 or 250 even for marketing, it's already made buku bucks.
I hate to bring this up so often, and we'll have to do an update soon, but the fact that I passed on this and I could have had this movie that I knew was going to be gangbusters in the movie draft to have 7 hot dogs left over, 8 on Ballerina, and 5 on Lethal Weapon, I should be thrown off this podcast.
Speaking of that, I haven't had an update in a couple months. I'll get the movie draft
Did
scores
Davey
updated.
take this?
This guy.
You did.
This
Fuck,
guy.
you won again. You
I'm pretty
son
sure.
of a bitch.
I'm pretty sure I had this. It was me and Davey
You
bidding
son of
on
a
it for
bitch.
sure. I'm pretty sure I got it.
It's actually funny in our text chain. Davey thinks that he drafted every movie.
Every movie we
And he's
talked
like,
about.
oh, did I take this one? Were you there?
Goo, the animated movie ended up making 270 million worldwide. So it made a lot of money. It's not talked about in the pantheon of Disney.
But once
movies.
again, even with that box office, like that's good. But it's the Stitch merch that really pushes what Disney needs from these movies. Like we talked about a couple years ago, TMNT Mutant Mayhem only made a certain amount at the box office, but Turtle merch made over $1 billion. So they said, we'll make a sequel.
And to that point, Goo, this movie actually has a sneaky all-time great movie poster promoting it. It's all the Disney characters that came before Stitch in the Renaissance era, looking down at Stitch like, what the fuck is that sort of thing? Like, great marketing.
Well, the O2 marketing with its trailers too, where it was Stitch going into other Disney movies and causing
awesome
chaos.
stuff.
Famously went into A Whole New World, Aladdin, and picked up Jasmine. IGN asked him about that, and he's like, it was just publicity, guys. Me and Jasmine didn't do anything.
No hanky-panky there.
Yeah.
Goo, this, like its original counterpart, is a PG-rated movie. This is an action, adventure, comedy, drama, family, fantasy. Subgenres, we have alien invasion, buddy comedy, sci-fi epic, space sci-fi. There is a decent amount of sci-fi to this. And you know what? What I think makes this movie so great, and I think kind of kicks it up, maybe even a dog or two the more you think about it. It does all those things fairly well. It is funny. It is dramatic. It is a family movie. There is fantasy sci-fi there. It's a good adventure, good action. It hits on all of those quite well. So
Can
I do
I add
appreciate that.
some subgenres?
Sure.
Animal adoption,
Okay. Yeah.
ocean,
Right. Right.
surf,
There you go. Now we're talking.
spaceship,
This is your favorite surf movie since
surf ninjas.
I was just say forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That's a
Dude,
good one. But I like surf ninjas. That has
All right.
Rob Schneider, who at the time was not a carrot yet.
or Stapler. This movie is 108 minutes, which is actually 20 minutes longer than the original. To be honest with you, I was a little surprised by that when I looked it up. It felt about the same since I had just watched the original maybe 4 days before. It didn't feel like it was that much longer.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
credit
like,
to it.
I was watching the screening while also watching Lilo and Stitch on my phone at the same time, and I was trying to keep them side by side.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
out of nowhere, they just split.
Goo, I would like the critics to explain themselves here. I don't know what the fuck they're on. On Roddy T's 69% from the critics, 93% from the audience. On the flip side, in 02, the original animated version, 86% from the critics, 78% from the audience. I don't know what happened there. On Metacritic, a 53 from the critics.
Wow.
02, 74. I don't know what they're missing here, Goo. I know they like fucking drawing a line in the sand against stuff like these Disney live action
They
remakes.
also don't want to put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yes. This is a legit good movie, good family movie. There's really not many things wrong with this movie other than it being a remake. But like, if you're gonna go see that, you already know it's a remake, so get that out of your fucking brain, you know?
And if you're mad about the changes, I could see the audience being mad about that, and we'll get into this in a second. But if you're a critic, it doesn't really. I mean, it does make
Critically,
it makes things more
it
convenient.
makes it a better story.
It makes it more convenient. with
No, I
certain
think it
things.
makes it a better story,
Well,
a better family.
It makes
better-
choices easy. It makes choices easy.
No, I think it makes it a better family story and a more relatable story. So
Oh,
I think
speaking of
critically
that-
it should be rated better than the original.
Credit to my iPhone. It auto-corrected what I sent you yesterday to Obama means family.
Yeah.
Which I'm not even sure if it does. Not to get Polly charged. But
There's someone out there this week that hates Obama that was fucking furious that their iPhone corrected Ohana to Obama. So that's
my
very,
phone
very funny.
also corrected Lilo to Polo and Stitch.
When I got that, first of all, I went to Pollo over Polo, and then I was like, oh, it's clearly Lilo here.
There is chickens in the movie.
There are chickens, correct.
Yeah.
Look at all these chickens. Goo! This
Yeah.
movie is written by Chris Kakaniakalani Bright, Mike Van Ways, and it is, of course, based on the script from the original movie by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois. You would know Chris Kakaniakalani Bright as an additional crew member on Moana. That's how you would know him by.
That's how I know him.
You wouldn't know Mike Van Ways from anything. So this is a real nice Kickstarter for those two. Clearly, when Disney does this, they're trying to prop up like up and coming sort of filmmakers, producers, that sort
Or
of
they're
thing.
cheaping out.
I actually think they like to prop people up. So credit to them
You
for
can
putting
shit in
people,
one hand
giving
and
people
whip in
that
the other.
platform.
It's the same.
We wouldn't know Mike Van Ways from anything, but we might know him well in a couple years, Goo, because what he's working on is 2 untitled horror movies: the Untitled Leprechaun Project and then the Untitled Wizard of Oz Horror Project. So that must be coming up on its, what is that called?
IP. Its IP is up.
Yeah, whatever. Public domain.
public domain.
Public domain.
Yeah.
So apparently he's working on that. And again, based on the O2 script by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois, they also co-directed that movie.
Chris Sanders. That's the voice of Leroy from Leroy and Stitch.
That's also the voice of Stitch from Stitch.
Oh my goodness. How did I miss that? How did I?
You know him as Leroy and not Stitch.
to the made for VHS or DVD at the time. I'm sorry, I'm dating
Yeah,
myself here.
yeah, yeah.
The fourth film in the Lilo and Stitch franchise that went straight to DVD.
In which Chris Sanders voice acted everyone and wrote and directed it. That duo has worked together a ton since teaming up on Mulan. And Chris Sanders actually has a remarkable career outside of his voice acting and his 10 or 15 years dedicated to the
He
character of
voiced
Stitch.
Leroy.
He also was a writer on Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Mulan, of course, Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon,
Wow.
The Croods, and The Wild Robot from last year, which we loved. He's also getting, oddly enough, a live action remake to How to Train Your Dragon. So big year, or maybe a big punch to the gut for Chris Sanders this
I
year.
just saw on Instagram a reel was suggested to me, and it was Pedro Pascal voicing the fox from The Wild Robot. It was him in the booth doing it. Real nice, effortless work.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. You above all appreciate voice
I
acting more
love
than most.
watching people do voiceover work.
Yeah, it is. It is good stuff.
Mhm.
This movie is directed by Dean Fleischer Camp, who I was aware of maybe not many other people, because he directed the movie Marcel the Shell with Shoes On from a couple years ago. That is a really nice, heartfelt story that began as a YouTube series from like 2010, which starred at the time his then wife Jenny Slate. They are now divorced.
No, no.
But I think Dean Fleischer Camp has a way of telling nice, heartfelt stories, and I think this movie confirms that. Synopsis: a lonely Hawaiian girl befriends a runaway alien, helping to mend her fragmented family. Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. This movie stars, and we'll get to the animated counterparts after I run through this here, Goo. Maia Kealoha as Lilo, Sydney Agudong as Nani, Chris Sanders as Stitch, which Goo just found out, Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, Billy Magnuson as Pleakley, Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles, Amy Hill as Tutu, Tia Carrera as Miss Kakoa, Kaipo Duduat as David, and Hannah Waddingham as Grand Councilwoman. Now, out of all of these, Goo, I didn't really have an issue with any of them, but in comparison to the originals, I found one or two things that I didn't particularly care for. So the voice of Lilo, the little girl here, I thought she did a really nice job. I thought she was very good, and she did a good job of like being a little brat too, which this role calls for. So I thought it was an improvement over the animated version.
First off, I like that they used at least a couple of the voice actors from either that movie or the shows or the other movies in live action performances here. Tia Carrera was the original Nani. They
Yes.
created a role for her in this movie. She was the public servant, the child care. And I actually like that they split the character of Bubbles and that.
Yeah. So the original Lilo Davey Chase, she was good. Don't get me wrong. I think I just preferred the live action version because you get more out of that performance. As Goo mentioned, Tia Carrera was the original Nani. She's got a great voice. So that voice works. I don't know how to compare them. I really liked this version of Nani as well. It felt younger than the version in the animated version did. And I think that's better for the story. Chris Sanders, of course, did both versions. My biggest issue with this version was Zach Galifianakis as Jumba. The original version was David Ogden Stiers. It's odd to me that the animated version was more grounded and the live action version was like more cartoonish.
It's also kind of weird so Zach Galifianakis in this, and he also voiced the Joker in Lego Batman, and didn't try to change his voice at all.
Yeah, and I know he already has a bit of a zany voice, so I get it to a certain degree, but I don't know. It was the first thing that I was distracted by was his voice in this role.
Also, they added the character of Tutu to make things a little bit easier at the end.
Yeah, so Amy Hill plays the neighbor Tutu, who's a borderline elderly woman who's a neighbor that has sort of looked over Lilo and Nani.
She has looked over Lilo and Nani. She has a son, so she is a mother. She, when watching Lilo, lets her have fun, lets her adventure out, but she still has an eye on her. You can tell that, if Lilo was in her custody, she would be in good hands.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Amy Hill voiced a character named Mrs. Hasagawa in the animated version, who was just like a forgetful old woman that owned a shop. Nani tried to get a job from her, but a minor role compared to this character. Billy Magnuson as Pleakley, I thought was really good, but not on the level that Kevin McDonald was as the original Pleakley. And if you don't know who Kevin McDonald is, Google him. You'll instantly recognize him, and you'll hear his voice, and you know he is. Billy Magnuson does do a good job here.
Yeah, he played the cartoon character. He's a cartoon.
Yeah. Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles. The original version, of course, was Ving Rhames. And as much as we love Ving Rhames, Courtney B. Vance's version brought a little more. He was still intimidating, but was a little more normal.
He was softer too.
Little softer. It just fit this version better than Ving Rhames' character did. Of course, we mentioned Tia Carrere as Miss Kakoa. She is the like social worker that's introduced at the beginning of this movie. It doesn't exist in the animated version. Kaipo Dudois, I don't know how you pronounce that, as David. Sort of one and the same to me. I didn't really notice too much from Jason Scott Lee. I think he nailed the like awkwardness of that character and like his bashfulness towards Nani. And then we get Hannah Waddingham as the Grand Councilwoman versus Zoe Caldwell
that was her
as Grand Councilwoman. Yeah, it was actually good. You couldn't tell, right? Pretty good.
Well done, actually. I thought it was just, it felt like a regular, not a regular. I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but it just felt like a voice actor, like a working voice actor.
Yeah. No, it was well done.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think, and there's a couple characters that get deleted in this version from the animated version, but I would say, like, if you're looking pluses, I would say Amy Hill is Tutu, minus Galifianakis is Jumba, and everything else is sort of level, you know. So it's all good to me.
That way about so much of this movie where it's level. They did everything as adequately as they possibly could. We knew what we were getting. It's almost, and if it wasn't for the public discourse and everything that I am being recommended on Facebook, X, and Instagram, I would almost forget about this movie, but not in a bad way. They did their job. They didn't get me mad, but the discourse about the ending has me furious.
I think you're underselling it with those remarks. I thought this movie was pretty good and a great kids movie. I think this is a great kids movie.
Okay. I think it's we'll do hot dogs in a second.
Okay.
Let me get to this first, though. Some other Lilo and Stitch properties leading up to this. We have the 2002. That was the original animated movie.
I told you to stop doing that, Goo.
I'm not allowed to do it on the radio. I can do it here if I want. I'm in charge here. Then we have 3 straight-to-DVD movies. We have Stitch, the movie that is about bad guys retrieving more experiments. Stitch is having a tough time fitting in. In 2005, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch has a glitch. This is set between the original film and Stitch. And then in 2006, starring Chris Anderson as both characters.
Chris Sanders.
What did I say?
Chris Anderson.
The kicker from the Falcons. That's what I'm talking about, right?
That's a crossover we need. Stitch and the Matrix.
Okay. We have Leroy and Stitch, and this is another experiment. His name is Leroy. Shall we get to TV?
Yeah, let's hear the TV property.
Okay, TV from 03 to 06, we have Lilo and Stitch, the series. This was on ABC Kids and Disney Channel. That was after a little delay. From 09 to 15, we have a Japanese anime that I am now very intrigued by. This was called Stitch. I'm going to check that one out. 2017, we have Stitch and AI. This was first in China and then went to Disney Now. That was the original streaming that Disney had, right?
It must be. It must be.
And then for video games, we have 9 of them across many of platforms: Nintendo DS, Game Boy Advance, PS2, and others.
I don't know if I ever played a Lilo and Stitch game.
I mean, if it was, I'm picturing, remember from like 09, the Wolverine game for PS3?
Yeah.
I'm picturing Stitch in that role.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Just going out and mauling people?
Yeah.
I'll take that. First things first, number 1 with the bullet, Hawaiian roller coaster is awesome.
I don't know what the words are, but it's catchy and I
Yeah,
enjoy it. It's fun.
I do
It's
too.
fun to me as a Hawaiian shirt wearer, authentic Hawaiian made Hawaiian shirt here, Goose. So I'm the expert on the property. Great song, great tune.
That's my only note.
Yeah, let's get through the gauntlet here.
All right, the gauntlet here. Fun factor: Stitch is fun.
Stitch is very fun. Stitch is really fun, and I also think other kids like watching bratty kids, and Lilo's kind of a brat,
Yeah,
right? So that's fun too.
I'm also able to use the Stitch bad meter with my son. I'm like, hey, you're bad up to here. Let's bring it down to here. Satisfactor, and I'm a little Mike riled up. And it's not because of the movie. It's because of goddamn social media. And I'm not even sure if these people are real.
So did you just make a Sarge reference there? Is that what's happening right now?
Uh-huh.
I would say that the climax of this movie is not as satisfying as the animated version. However, the consequences and where characters end up in this movie, I thought was a little more satisfying than the animated version.
Borometer, I was getting a little bored as they were setting up the family drama and there was no Stitch for what, 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah, maybe that long. I'm not sure.
It
I
felt
didn't.
like
I
hours.
I didn't have that. That didn't exist for me. And that I even knew that going in. You had said that to me. You'd seen it before I had. And no, I didn't. I enjoyed the characters, and I liked the hijinks there amongst the big sister little sister dynamic.
Halloween, will this wane over time? And I feel like outside of the conversation of best Disney live action movies, I'm not gonna remember this a ton. I'll bring it up in that conversation. It's probably my number 2, but I'm not gonna say forgettable. That's too much. But it's satisfactory. It did what it was supposed to do, but it's not the best.
I mean, the issue really here is, and this is a bit like with the Sonic movies, I think this sort of falls in to a similar area as them. Those have been getting better, but what they're lacking and what kids love, especially younger kids, is the music, right? And so this doesn't have the great music and sing-alongs that the best Disney movies have. So as much as I love the story here, and as heartfelt as the story is, that makes it like a really good kid and family movie, it just doesn't have that musical dynamic that a lot of those all-time greats do have.
I agree. They should have played Hawaiian Roller Coaster 7 times.
Or they should have had, like, I don't know, they should have had, like, when
You know
you
what? Actually,
got free reign, work it into the middle of the movie,
they didn't play a lot of Elvis in this. I feel like they played more
Just at the
Elvis in
end.
the animated one, right?
I think so, yeah, yeah,
Because Elvis, it's a big deal in Hawaii, correct?
yeah. They
Isn't
claim
that how
him.
Bruno Mars started?
Is
Wasn't
Bruno
he
Hawaiian?
he was an Elvis Hawaiian.
Well, I mean, he was an Elvis impersonator, but
Was it
I
in
mean,
Hawaii?
I don't know if he's from Hawaii. I'm not sure.
Bring up the next one. I'm gonna look it up.
World, is this better or worse than 2017's Aquaman or 1994's Waterworld? What year did Aquaman come out? What year did Waterworld come out?
So he was age 4, live in Hawaii, Elvis medley, little Bruno Mars.
Look at that. How
Where is
about
he
that?
from? I feel like everyone claims him. It's like it's like the Chappelle Show racial draft.
Yeah, all races are claiming Bruno, and he
Yeah.
can kind of code change like that. He can be whatever he needs to be.
Yeah, so this is better than Aqua World. That's not what it's called, Water World, but I'd probably Water World I like. I'm really warming up to Water World. We might have to change this soon.
This movie's better than both of those movies, Aquaman and Waterworld.
Plemonade. For those of you who don't know, Jesse Plemons is the man, and when he pops up in something, we say, "Holy shit, that is
Holy
great."
cow!
Who is that guy? Oh, we know who that is. That's Jesse Plemons, and he makes things better. Who did that in this movie? Is Bubbles in not enough of this movie to count him?
I'd say, yeah, you could count him. I'll give you that. I really liked Amy Hill's like motherly
Yeah.
feeling and inspiration in this movie. which you just simply don't have in the animated version. So I'll give it to Amy Hill. As
Pants
Tutu.
Tent City, Excite Bike Mania. What got you going in this movie? I'm not sure if anything did.
Well, speak for yourself. I thought Nani was pretty attractive.
Should I ask if you would purchase bathwater?
Listen,
Are we going to add that to
if
the
we're making a list of bars of soap I would purchase that feature women's bathwater in it, I don't know what the number is.
I would like one day for the shelves behind you to just be covered in celebrity bathwater soap. And what a collection it would be. Max Credit Union.
I think I got to give it to Maia Kealoha as Lilo. We talk about how all the time children actors ruin shit. Well, this movie is predominantly dominated by a child actor. I don't know how old she is in real life, maybe 8 years old. She's playing like 6 in this. I thought she was really fucking good.
Yeah.
Conveyed the emotional moments well, was funny when she needed to be. I thought she was really good. Really, really good.
Hot dog roller coaster ride.
Fucking nailed it.
Ah.
Absolutely nailed it.
I had to think about it for like 30 seconds and how to start it, how to finish it.
On a hot dog coaster ride.
Okay, let's get to this here, Mac. I'll go first. The movie is solid enough. I think it's one of the better Disney live action movies, but it's not saying much because that's what all of the headlines are saying. They're like, it's the best. Yeah, but people don't like those.
I think we agree number one is Aladdin.
I like
right?
Aladdin more than most. I think Aladdin is fun. And I think, and like the CGI isn't the best, but I like Will Smith's genie.
Well, it also turned Jasmine from a damsel in distress to a badass. And Naomi Scott's moment in that movie where she like has that emotional outburst with the song is fucking amazing, and actually was maybe the best part of that movie, and makes you wish that the animated movie had that. And I would say this has some elements of making you wish the animated movie had something. All the other live action remakes have not felt like they needed to add something to the original version that those two versions have. So I would say this is probably number 2 live action Disney remake based on that. However, I love The Lion King so much, but I also still loved that live action remake.
And Jafar is hot. Stitch looks great in this, and there's enough hijinks to keep the kids entertained. The first act is kind of boring for me, setting up the family drama, but you do need that for the end. You need that for the big gut punch at the end. I really like the two main actors. I would have preferred keeping the character of Guntu in there, but whatever. You know, the movie's passed. I'm not gonna pick it outside just as
the big bad alien guy.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
Yeah, whatever. At the beginning, I was more indifferent / slightly down on the ending of the movie because I feel like they split the baby with the bathwater. I didn't think they really made a choice, like they made you go one side or the other. It was super convenient because of another thing that was added to this movie that's not really in the original. It's a portal gun, if you don't know. But I guess at like 31 hot dogs. I think it's good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not far off from you. I really liked, again, the addition of the character of Tutu that just made this feel a little more heartfelt, a little more homely, and also just outright makes sense in a situation like this, in a village like that. I feel like that's more accurate than what the animated version provided us. I also feel like at the end of this movie, there's a decision made that benefits all of the characters, whereas in the animated version, you don't quite get that either. Yes, it does fall short in a couple of the fantastic movements that the animated version has. That's always going to happen when you're talking animated versus live action. And I agree that the climax of this movie towards the end probably falls a little short to what the rest of the movie was gliding towards, because I felt like this movie was really, really good. I think it's a great kids movie. It's not a movie I'm like desperate to rewatch, but I could see a child really loving this movie and wanting to rewatch. I think it's just a really good family story. It tugs on the heartstrings a little bit. I have it at 33 hot dogs. I think it's a great kids movie and good for all ages in general, but it does lack that rewatchability. It doesn't have that musical aspect, but Stitch is fun. Kids are gonna love that. I think a lot of families are gonna love the family dynamic in this. So
Shall we get to spoilers?
let's do it.
Spoilers,
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 spoilers.
spoilers.
Ohana means giving your child to the state, Mac.
So the end of this movie, after everyone gets saved, yada yada. Amy Hill's Tutu, which is an addition to this movie, as we've already said 3 or 4 times. She takes on Lilo, takes custody of Lilo. They live uphill from Nani and Lilo, and Nani is still able to go and pursue her passions as well. So in this version of the story, Lilo probably receives a better upbringing than what she did in the animated, and Nani also has a better life than what she did in the animated, and it just makes so much sense to me, and it just adds a nice touch to this movie that the animated version doesn't have. And it also hammers home that point, right? That the whole point of Stitch and Lilo's relationship, Ohana doesn't need to be blood. And so adding that aspect really sells that even more. I loved it. I loved her addition to this movie.
Also, by adding her, and then you add the convenience of a portal gun, it then, yes, Nani goes off to college at the end, but distance doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point too. And I was thinking about it during the movie too. I was like, oh, you know what? The portal gun is a nice. I almost wanted a couple more gizmos and gadgets from space that would work.
It was just like
a dart gun.
and over and over again.
Yeah, it's just the dart gun in that. Yeah. They
Nani,
also.
Sorry, but Nani is 18, 19 years old.
Right.
She has no job. They now have no house. She has no health insurance. I'm not saying like they should have taken the girl away from her. I mean, maybe, but I don't think she was ready to raise Lilo. I think of my brother at the age of 18, 19 years old. I would probably not be here today if he was raising me at that age. I think of myself at that age trying to raise. I'm 36. I can barely do it. I have a child. Raising children is extremely difficult, especially when it is thrust upon you after a family tragedy. Ohana it's not just those two. They have a family friend that they have been with forever. They added that character on purpose to then make it easier at the end. Once again, it does make it a little bit easier at the end to then say it's more responsible because, first off, Tutu can actually take care of Lilo, and she's not this like old staunch like she's a no fun person. She is fun throughout the entire movie, and she's also already raised a child, and this is only a placeholder for like 5 years maybe.
Yeah,
and once again, the distance does not matter. The distance no longer matters.
Well, I also think, not that the animated version advocates or inspires people to have kids at 19 years old. I think it's just a better message to show you and display to kids that like this is out there, And yes, there have been hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that have been in a situation like Nani that have taken on a Lilo. And it is nice to have someone that would make that sacrifice for their younger sibling or a younger cousin. But it is a sacrifice. And so I like that this movie shows you that that doesn't necessarily need to be done. You know what I mean? Like people are still going to be okay if you don't make that sacrifice. And I just preferred this version of the story that with the consequences than the animated. Now,
and also with the no one gets left behind with Ohana, if she stayed there to take care of her sister, obviously things could have went well for them, but she also could have been left behind.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I just think it's a better version of it. And
think of the movie, That's My Boy. Think of Donnie Berg trying to raise his young Andy Samberg child, and Andy Samberg getting New Kids on the Block tattoos on his back.
I just like the idea that, Nani's still allowed to pursue her passions and have her life as well, which you just don't have in the animated version.
And
I think
they
that's
made a deal. She's not being taken to a whole new family, a new city, a new town.
She stays at home.
Village. She's moving next door.
Yep, she stays
and
at
they
home.
build the house, and they make a nice family with all of them.
All right, a couple other changes here. Number one, Jumba, and this is the one that bothered me most. This is the character voiced by Galifianakis. In the animated version, by the end of the movie, Jumba sort of is like more of an anti-hero than a villain. He's out for selfish reasons, but also has like an appreciation for Stitch. In this, he's more of an outright villain. He doesn't have an appreciation at all for Stitch, and that's because they get rid of Guntu, the big bad alien guy, which by the way was voiced by what's his name, Kevin Michael Richardson in the original, the guy that voices Elmo, and they put all those characteristics into Jumbo. They combine, huh?
Kevin Clash is Elmo.
Sure. They put these two characters mishmash together, and Jumba takes on both things. I didn't care for that necessarily, and I also didn't care for Galifianakis' voice work. So I do think that's the weakest part of this movie, this story. And then we get to Bubbles as well, which we talked about briefly at the top. So in the animated version, Bubbles is the social worker from the outset, from the beginning of the movie. And by the end, it's implied that he inserts himself into the situation because the extraterrestrial stuff. He brings up Roswell in that version, which doesn't get brought up here. In this version, he inserts himself into the situation a little bit into the movie once he realizes there's something, maybe extraterrestrial, something weird going on. And I think it just makes more sense from a storytelling standpoint in a kid's movie to do it this way. I don't mind that in the original version, you find out at the end, it's like, that's kind of cool, yada, yada. I think just from a storytelling standpoint for children, this works better. And I also like that Miss Kakoa is like that really heartfelt, friendly person trying to help Nani at the beginning. Whereas in the animated version, Bubbles is just a dickhead from the jump, not trying to help Nani. And Miss Kakoa really gives you what a real social worker would be like. And so I preferred this split to Kakoa and Bubbles over strictly Bubbles in the animated.
Just as soon as Tutu popped up, I was like, just give Lilo to her. Like it's so
I love she rips around on an ATV too. It's fucking great.
Yeah. And once again, it's a placeholder.
So,
Nani will be back. And Nani, this is a free education. So we're not looking at student loans. And then when she gets back, she's going to have a whole new job where she can actually make money. She's not going to be, working a job just to make enough to then cover things. And like, I don't want to get into this, but health insurance is something that I stumble over constantly.
Sure.
I get that a 19-year-old might slip their brain.
Yeah. Job feel. We also should have provided this when we were giving dog scores, Goo, for some context.
Yeah.
What would you give the animated version of this story?
34, 35, 34.
Okay.
I'll say 34.
I was thinking 35, 36.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit higher on the animated, a little bit higher here. And so as much as we like some of the changes in this movie, admittedly, it's still a live action remake that we don't necessarily crave. So that's why there's a little bit of a difference. But I would say 2 or 3 dogs less for this version than the original. And you're saying probably 3 or 4 less than the original.
Mac heard my score and said, Stitch, please. I've got 99 problems and a Stitch ain't one. You have any more?
No, that's it.
Let's get into Mac Sack.
Move, Stitch. Get out the way.
And Mac Sack could be anything. It could be a boat. Mac, you have 2 pieces here, 2 topics real quick.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to do Last of Us episode with anyone because
I think you should.
Goo dogged me, and I don't feel like talking to anyone. But just a quick synopsis of season 2. First 2 episodes, last 2 episodes, amazing, great. The middle 3 presented a little bit of a lull, but clearly necessary to tell the story that they're going to tell over a confirmed now 4 seasons. We're left off with a cliffhanger at the end of season 2 here, only 7 episodes. So that's a little bothersome. So I think clearly season 1 better than season 2. But like how many times in a 4 or 5 season show are we saying like, season 2 is the best season? Like it never is. So,
you can argue.
With context, I think that's totally fine. And as long as they nail the next couple seasons, we'll be good. But more so what I want to talk about, Goo, is The Rehearsal, another HBO show that just ended this week. This is the Nathan Fielder show We remember from a couple years ago how zany it got. And Nathan Fielder, of course, from Nathan For You, which I think is an all-time great comedic show. Goo, I'm legit having trouble finding words to describe what this season of television,
Common theme on this show.
what this season of television, season 2 of The Rehearsal, did, what Nathan Fielder was able to pull off. It's legitimately insane and fucking amazing at the same time. I just need people to watch it, all 6, to see what it culminates in. And it's legit insane, crazy. And I was in awe watching the final 30 or 40 minutes of the finale, and it might actually lead to change in real life, what he's done. So it's just, Nathan Fielder's got to be the most motivated and creative person on the planet. And I think he's actually capable of doing anything he sets his mind to. And I'm so impressed. I'm not saying it's like the greatest season of television ever, but it is legitimately one of the most I'm just in awe. I'm speechless. It's one of the most insane seasons of television forever. That's for sure.
All right, Mac, where can the folks find us?
You can find us on X and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform, we are Mac ampersand Goo. That's Mac Shift 7 Goo. It includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. But more importantly, on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get your free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. That's Watertown Sportswear on 34 Mount Auburn Street. WatertownSportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com. Check us out. Next week, we'll have a news dump for one of the episodes. Maybe Mac will talk about The Last of Us. Who knows? And we also, we didn't see Karate Kid this weekend, so we're not going to talk about that.
And I will not be seeing that.
I'm fucking confused because I thought the Jackie Chan one was a reboot / remake, but apparently it's been folded into the regular continuity.
Apparently they got a fucking MCU situation here where now everything counts.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening. I was doing a little bit of research yesterday because I saw that it was a sequel to both 1984's The Karate Kid and 2010's The Karate Kid.
And when Jackie Chan talks about the 2010 version and how he was roped into playing that character, they're like, "Oh, you're playing Miyagi." So yeah. He's
Mr. Han though.
Yes, I know, but they're sold to him as it was Mr. Miyagi. So I don't know how. I just don't get it. I don't understand.
At least Jackie Chan is getting a nice little payday right now.
Yeah.
He has a lot of money, by the way. That's what
he does have a lot of cake.
Rush Hours 1 and 2, fantastic.
Oh, did you see also they're talking about doing a Rush Hour 4?
That's been in the news for a while, and he's saying, please hurry up.
He's going to die.
Well, no, so he said that he wants the movie to be made with less money and less time. Less money, less time, rush hour it through. You're going to get a better result. Rush Hour 3, they took too much time on it, spent too much money on it, not that good.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I would like another Shanghai Night. That's him and Owen Wilson?
Yeah, Shanghai Noon I believe was the first one.
Okay, so Shanghai Morning would be the next one?
Evenings?
Well, no, we've already done night.
Shanghai Naps.
Noon. Naps. No. Think of some more day parts.
That's all I got.
No. I don't... we're new to life, so we don't know what's happening.
I'm cool with naps. Shanghai Naps.
Shanghai Naps. He's a little
just
older.
Two old guys
taking naps in the West. Once upon a time in the West, took a nap. About damn time in the West, took another nap.
Well, I guess they probably had to work harder, so there was less naps.
Oh my God,
they didn't work at all, and they only napped.
We need Shanghai Nights and Wild Wild West. Jam those some bitches together. Fold those continuities together.
If we can do 21 Jump Street and Men in Black, we can do Wild West and Shanghai Nights.
I would love to see elderly Jackie Chan fighting a robotic spider. And scene. Tuesdays are Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos. Tim Burton.
Bye.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines.